Hello and welcome to Reviewer 360. This is a review of an Alfa 159 1.9 JTDm diesel from 2008. We are doing this review in a test drive with the owner of this Alfa 159 1.9 JTDm in 2024. The owner owns this Alfa 159 from 2022 and has driven 24,000 kilometers since then. We are making this review, a test drive while driving with the owner and asking him for a lot of information. And the video is a bonus. We also made a scene of Alfa 166 and Alfa 159 just to see how they drive next to each other. Two Alfas side by side. Which one looks better according to you? The comment section is yours. We also have full review for the Alfa 166 2.4 JTD on our YouTube channel. You can watch it if you want. The first question, as always, is why you chose this Alfa 159 1.9 JTDm over other vehicles with that price tag in 2022.
Ever since 2005, when this Alfa 159 came to the market for new vehicles, I have been impressed by the appearance of the car. So my favorite car for many years was this Alfa 159, and when the opportunity arose to buy an interesting example, I took it without much hesitation. The owner I bought this Alfa 159 1.9 JTDm from had done some modifications to it. The car has been remapped, DPF and EGR disconnected and DPF removed. Hybrid turbo and straight pipe were installed. This Alfa 159 1.9 JTDm engine comes from the factory with 148 horsepower, but with these modifications, it is now more than 200 horsepower.
With that modification, I can tell that the car is way faster than the regular Alfa 159 1.9 JTDm with the factory engine. So far, do you have problems, defects, and so on with your Alfa 159? How are you satisfied with it?
When I bought the car it had 286,000 kilometers, now it has 310,000 kilometers in less than 3 years. I have driven those kilometers. I have changed the bearing on the right front wheel, rear stabilizers, and bushings on the front, and the servo pump has been changed because I bought it with an already broken servo pump. This Alfa model, and as I have heard other Alfa models, also have a weak front end. Control arms and associated parts are changed every few years, which is not exactly cheap to change.
It is good to know all this information. Now, tell me something about the fuel consumption, expenses of owning the car. Is it easy to travel with? Cargo space, driving in town, driving in the motorway, noise on high speed, infotainment system, etc.
I think that this vehicle doesn't have a lot of fuel consumption considering the dimensions and how fast it is. When I drive around town in big crowds, the consumption reaches up to 8 to 9 liters per 100 kilometers. On open long-distance trips, the consumption is about 6 liters per 100 kilometers. We can take an average consumption of 7 liters per 100 kilometers. Regular service such as oil change and all filters that are changed at regular services is around 80 to 90 euros. Personally, the car makes me happier outdoors on longer distances because it has a lot of power, it is very fast, and I can easily overtake other vehicles on the road. The engine is not very noisy because it has 6 gears, and also the car itself has good sound insulation. In the city, it's a bit more complicated for me to drive and also for parking. The trunk in the car is big enough for a family of 4. There is not much room for adults on the back seats, especially if the driver and passenger are taller. The sound system is great and has a very good sound for a car that has been used for 16 years. The interior is perfect for me, everything is arranged where it should be. Nothing extra has been added and everything is facing the driver. The driver is in charge and all instruments and buttons are within easy reach. For me, a simple but beautiful and functional interior design.
Will you recommend the Alfa 159 1.9 diesel to some potential buyers?
I don't really recommend it for ordinary people who drag along the road, because this car is for people who want to drive cars with soul and heart. It is not a boring car to drive at all. On the contrary, as a driver, you will find driving in it very interesting, especially on long trips. As Jeremy Clarkson says, you're not a car lover if you haven't owned an Alfa Romeo.
For the end of this driving, tell me 3 positive and 3 negative things about this Alfa 159 1.9 JTDm diesel from 2008.
The first thing as positive is the way how this car drives. It makes me happy with a smile on my face. The second thing as positive is the interior. The central console, the buttons, the steering wheel, all those things are in perfect position. The third positive thing is how this car looks from the outside. As I said earlier, my favorite looking car since 2005. The first negative is the weak front end and replacing parts such as control arms and associated parts often. The second negative thing is the gearbox. This Alfa has a gearbox from Opel, I think, M32, and it is very tender and prone to defects. On my Alfa, the bearings make some noise, especially in fifth gear. The third negative thing I will say is the rear seats.
Thanks for watching. We will be motivated to make more videos if you subscribe and like our videos.